A chance glance at a cafe waitress brought back a face from the past, telling what happened next changed both their lives forever. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon when John decided to stop by a small cafe downtown. The city streets were slick with rain, and most people hurried past with umbrellas, trying to escape the drizzle. John wasn't in a rush. He liked to take his time and enjoy small moments. That day he felt tired from work and wanted a warm meal and a little break from the chaos of the office. The cafe he chose was cozy, with big windows that looked out onto the wet streets, letting in soft light that made the place feel calm and inviting. The smell of freshly brewed coffee and baked pastries welcomed him as soon as he stepped inside. He walked slowly to the counter, glancing at the menu above. It was the kind of cafe where everything felt homemade: soups, sandwiches, and desserts that looked like they had just come out of someone's kitchen. While waiting, John noticed the waitress who was taking orders and serving tables. At first, she seemed like any other person working hard to keep customers happy, moving quickly and efficiently, balancing plates and drinks with practiced ease. But there was something familiar about her face. John stopped for a moment. He frowned slightly, trying to place her. Her smile was gentle but confident, and her eyes had a spark he felt he had seen somewhere before. A memory tugged at the corner of his mind, something from many years ago. He had to focus. It was strange how the brain sometimes recognizes someone but can't immediately remember where they are from. He watched her take an order from a young couple and noticed the way she laughed quietly, politely at something they said. That sound, that soft, familiar laugh, finally triggered a memory. "Wait a minute," John muttered under his breath. The voice, the face, the laughter, it all clicked. He recognized her immediately. It was Emily, his classmate from high school. They had spent countless hours in the same classroom, laughed in the same hallways, and shared jokes that only they understood. But it had been over 10 years since they last met. John couldn't believe it. What were the chances that after all this time, he would walk into a random cafe and see someone from his past serving coffee? He felt a rush of excitement mixed with nervousness. His heart beat a little faster, and his hands felt slightly clammy. He wasn't sure if he should approach her immediately or wait for a safer moment. He remembered the countless what-if moments people often had in life. What if he said hello? What if she didn't remember him? What if things had changed too much? The possibilities rushed through his mind, each one a mix of hope and fear. John took a deep breath and reminded himself that she was still the same person he remembered, at least inside. High school memories can be strong, but people do change. Still, the thought of reconnecting with someone who had once been an important part of his life filled him with warmth. He could remember their small adventures, the times they had spent sneaking out during lunch breaks, the jokes they shared that made them both laugh until their stomachs hurt. In the endless afternoons they had spent discussing dreams and ambitions that felt so big at the time. Now, seeing her here, it felt like a moment suspended in time. He decided to move closer to the counter. Each step felt heavier with anticipation. She looked up as he approached, and he noticed a flicker of curiosity in her eyes as she prepared to greet the next customer. John paused for a second, gathering his courage. The cafe seemed quieter all of a sudden. The background noise faded, and it felt like the moment was just about him and her. When he finally spoke, his voice was a little shaky. "Emily." He tried to sound casual, but there was no mistaking the surprise in his tone. She turned fully toward him, a confused look on her face at first. Then, slowly, recognition dawned. Her eyes widened, and her mouth formed a small smile. John felt a mixture of relief and excitement. She remembered him. It was incredible how quickly memories came rushing back, the old jokes, shared classes, the awkward moments, the secrets. They had grown up since then, but the connection seemed instantly familiar, like a book opening to a page they had both read years ago, but never forgotten. As he waited to place his order, John noticed small changes in her appearance. She looked more mature, confident, and independent, but there was still a spark of the girl he once knew. Her hair was cut differently, her uniform gave her a professional look. But her eyes, those bright, familiar eyes, were unmistakable. He couldn't help but feel a mix of nostalgia and curiosity. How had life treated her? What had she been doing all these years? Emily finally approached him to take his order. Their hands brushed lightly as she handed him a menu, and John felt a jolt of recognition that was more than just memory. It was as if time itself had folded, bringing two paths together again. Their brief interaction was filled with small, subtle gestures, a shared smile, a tilt of the head, a slight laugh at a remembered joke that hinted at the connection they had once shared. John placed his order. But his mind wasn't on the food. He was thinking about the incredible coincidence that had brought them back together, wondering what other surprises life might hold. The cafe, the rain outside, the smell of coffee, the soft chatter of other customers, everything felt sharper, more vivid, as if the universe had created this perfect moment just for them. As he stepped aside to wait for his order, John looked at Emily one last time and realized something profound. Life could be unpredictable, full of chance encounters that changed everything. A simple decision, like stopping by a cafe on a rainy afternoon, could lead to an unexpected reunion, reconnecting the threads of the past with the present. And in that moment, standing there with a mixture of surprise, nostalgia, and excitement, John felt a sense of anticipation for what might come next. The memory of Emily from school, the years of separation, and the sudden reunion created a swirl of emotions inside him. There was curiosity, a hint of nervousness, and an undeniable thrill. He couldn't wait to talk to her, to catch up, to see how life had shaped her, and maybe to find out what role this unexpected meeting would play in both of their lives. John felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as he watched Emily from a short distance, waiting for her next free moment. The cafe was still busy, with the soft hum of conversation, the clinking of coffee cups, and the occasional laughter from customers filling the air. John tried to act casual, pretending to check his phone and glance around the cafe. But he couldn't stop sneaking glances at her. Every small gesture, every movement, reminded him of the girl he once knew. Yet she seemed different too, more mature, poised, and independent. After a few minutes, Emily finally had a break. She wiped her hands on her apron and walked toward the side where John had been standing. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was strange, but not uncomfortable. It was the kind of pause that comes when two people who shared a past suddenly find themselves face to face after years apart. John cleared his throat and smiled. "It's really you, Emily, right?" She blinked and nodded slowly, a smile spreading across her face. "John, is that really you?" Her voice was filled with disbelief and warmth. They laughed softly, a little awkwardly, realizing how surreal this moment felt. The years melted away for an instant, and they were transported back to those school days sitting in the same classroom, sharing notes, whispering jokes during lessons, and planning small adventures during breaks. After the initial surprise, they started talking. At first, it was cautious, polite conversation, the kind people often have when reconnecting after years apart. John asked about her work, and Emily asked where he had been all these years. They spoke about the city, about changes in their neighborhood, and about mutual acquaintances they remembered from school. Every detail was a bridge, linking the past to the present, and both of them felt a strange comfort in it. Then came the memories. As they reminisced, laughter began to fill the space between them. John reminded Emily of the time they had tried to prank their math teacher, which had ended in both of them running from the classroom to avoid getting caught. Emily laughed so hard she had to cover her mouth with her hand, and for a moment John almost forgot where they were, as if they were still teenagers sneaking around the school corridors. The stories came easily, one after another, as though no time had passed at all. John noticed that Emily's eyes sparkled with the same energy he remembered from school. She was confident now, carrying herself with a calm authority, yet the same playful spirit lingered. Her laughter had a warmth that reminded him of shared lunches and long walks home from school. She listened to him attentively as he spoke about his travels, his work, and the various challenges he had faced in life. In turn, he listened as she described her struggles and triumphs. From pursuing her art to balancing responsibilities at home, it wasn't just nostalgia that made this reunion special. It was the sense of understanding they had for each other. Even though they had been apart for so long, they seemed to recognize the same qualities in each other that had drawn them together in the first place: curiosity, humor, and a quiet determination. John realized that while people change with time, some connections remain untouched by distance or years. Emily felt the same way. She mentioned how odd it was to see someone from her past, someone who remembered the small details of her life that nobody else did. As the conversation flowed, John and Emily started to share deeper parts of their lives. John spoke about moments of loneliness during his travels, times when he missed having someone who truly understood him. Emily opened up about the challenges of working long hours, pursuing her passion for art while trying to make ends meet. She talked about family responsibilities, sacrifices she had made, and dreams she still held on to despite obstacles. John listened with admiration and empathy, realizing that the girl he remembered from school had grown into an incredibly strong and capable woman. They both noticed how easily the conversation moved. Between lighthearted memories and serious topics, it wasn't forced. It was natural, flowing from curiosity and genuine interest in each other's lives. John remembered how they used to talk about their dreams as teenagers, ambitions that sometimes felt too big for their small world. Now, they were talking about real struggles and achievements, dreams that had been pursued and goals still on the horizon. It was fascinating to see how life had shaped them in different ways. Yet their connection remained familiar and comforting. Time passed quickly. What had started as a brief chance encounter stretched into hours of conversation. They moved to a quieter corner of the cafe, where the noise of the other customers faded into the background. John felt a strange combination of nostalgia and excitement. He realized that this reunion was not just about remembering the past. It was about rediscovering a connection that could be meaningful in the present and perhaps even the future. Emily mentioned some of the places she had visited, small adventures she had taken, and the art projects that had kept her busy and fulfilled. John shared stories of his travels, funny incidents, and unexpected experiences that had shaped him. Every story seemed to bring them closer, allowing them to see sides of each other that had grown beyond their teenage selves. It was amazing how quickly trust and familiarity returned, as though the years apart had only made their bond stronger. At one point, John realized he hadn't felt this happy in a long time. There was something comforting about being with someone who shared your history, someone who had known you in your formative years and could see how far you had come. Emily, too, seemed to feel the same way. She laughed more freely than she had in a long time and listened with genuine interest to John's stories. Both of them understood that this was more than a casual reunion. It was a moment that life had carefully orchestrated. A second chance to connect in ways they hadn't imagined by the time they finally left the cafe. Evening had settled over the city. The rain had stopped, leaving a soft, wet shimmer on the streets. They walked together for a short distance, not wanting the conversation to end just yet. There was no awkwardness, only a sense of ease and excitement. Like two old friends discovering a new chapter in their relationship. John couldn't help but smile, thinking about how unexpected this encounter had been and how much it had already changed his day, and perhaps his life. That evening marked the beginning of something remarkable. What started as a simple greeting in a cafe turned into a meaningful reconnection. They had rediscovered each other not just as memories from the past, but as real, living individuals with rich lives, experiences, and dreams. And though they didn't know exactly what the future held, both John and Emily felt a deep sense of anticipation and hope, a sense that life had brought them together again for a reason, and that this reunion might just be the start of an amazing journey. After that first surprising reunion at the cafe, John and Emily continued to reconnect over the following weeks. What had started as a brief encounter quickly grew into a series of meetings. They discovered that both of them had changed in many ways, but at the same time, their old friendship had a strength that neither of them expected. Every meeting became an opportunity to learn more about each other's lives, to laugh together, and to share experiences that had shaped them over the years. They often met at the same cafe where they had first recognized each other. But sometimes they would take walks through the nearby park or explore quiet streets in the city. Each meeting felt like a small adventure. John noticed that Emily had a calm confidence about her now. She spoke with clarity and purpose, her passion for her art shining through whenever she described a project she was working on. Yet, beneath that confidence, John sensed the same warmth and humor he had always loved about her. Emily, in turn, was curious about John's travels and his career. He had spent years exploring different countries for work, meeting people from diverse backgrounds and experiencing cultures that were completely new to him. He shared stories of his adventures, sometimes funny, sometimes challenging. John spoke about the lessons he had learned while navigating unfamiliar places, about the moments of loneliness and the moments of wonder, and about how those experiences had changed him as a person. Emily listened attentively, asking questions that showed she genuinely cared about his journey. During one afternoon meeting, Emily shared more about her own life. She had been working long hours at the cafe. Balancing her job with her passion for art, she told John about the sketches she was creating in her free time, the small exhibitions she had participated in, and the long nights she spent perfecting her craft. John could see the dedication in her eyes, and he admired her determination. Emily spoke not just about successes, but also about struggles, the times when she doubted herself, the challenges of supporting her family, and the fear of taking risks in a world that often seemed uncertain. John realized that Emily's life had not been easy, but her resilience and courage were inspiring. He found himself feeling proud of the friend he had known as a teenager. Seeing her now as a strong, independent woman who had faced difficulties and kept moving forward, Emily noticed similar qualities in John. Despite years of travel and work, he had remained grounded, thoughtful, and empathetic. They both recognized the growth in each other. Yet they could still laugh at old jokes and remember the small, silly moments from their school days. Their conversations often flowed effortlessly from serious topics to lighter moments. They would laugh at shared memories from school, the pranks, awkward dances at school events, and the countless inside jokes that only they understood. Then, without warning, the discussion might shift to something more personal, like dreams, fears, or life goals. John found this balance comforting. It reminded him that true connections are not just about having fun together, but also about being honest, supportive, and present for each other. Emily felt the same way. She realized that she could talk to John about her aspirations and concerns without judgment, and that made her feel understood and valued. One day, John and Emily decided to visit an art gallery together. Emily had been working on a series of paintings inspired by her travels and personal experiences, and she wanted John's opinion. Walking through the gallery, she explained the meaning behind each piece, the colors, the themes, and the emotions she had tried to capture. John listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions and offering encouragement. He could see how much her art meant to her, how it reflected not only her talent, but also her perspective on life. The experience brought them even closer. As they shared insights and emotions in a way that went beyond casual conversation, over time, they began to realize that their reconnection was more than just reminiscing about the past. They were learning from each other, inspiring each other, and offering support in ways that neither of them had anticipated. John encouraged Emily to pursue her art more seriously, suggesting ways she could share her work with a wider audience. Emily, in turn, reminded John of the importance of slowing down and appreciating the simple joys in life, moments like walking in the park, noticing the changing seasons, and savoring meaningful conversations. As the weeks passed, their friendship deepened. They began to talk about their hopes and dreams more openly. John admitted that while his travels had been exciting, he sometimes felt that something was missing in his life, a sense of connection, shared purpose, and meaningful relationships. Emily shared her longing to expand her art and to make a difference in her community, despite the risks involved. These conversations were not heavy or burdensome. Instead, they were filled with curiosity, encouragement, and mutual respect. Each person felt inspired by the other's courage and determination. It wasn't long before John noticed a change in himself. Being around Emily made him feel more alive and motivated. Her passion for her work and her ability to face challenges with a smile reminded him of what it felt like to pursue life wholeheartedly. Emily noticed a similar shift in herself. John's stories, encouragement, and genuine interest in her art gave her confidence that she hadn't felt in years. Their friendship had become a source of strength for both of them, a relationship that nourished them emotionally and mentally. One evening, as they sat on a park bench watching the sunset, John reflected on how extraordinary it was that fate had brought them back together. They had started as classmates, drifted apart for years, and yet here they were, reconnecting in a way that felt natural, meaningful, and life-changing. Emily looked at him and smiled, and in that moment, both of them realized that this friendship was special. It wasn't just about old memories. It was about the present, the support they offered each other, and the possibilities that lay ahead. They began to make plans for the future. Not in a rigid or overwhelming way, but with excitement and hope. John suggested exploring more cultural events together, attending art shows, and even collaborating on small creative projects. Emily responded with enthusiasm, seeing the opportunity to grow both personally and professionally. They both understood that their renewed connection was an opportunity to enrich their lives, to challenge themselves, and to support each other in pursuing dreams that mattered. Through these weeks of reconnection, John and Emily discovered a profound truth about friendship and life. Some relationships are meant to endure, even across years and distance. True connections can survive time, change, and separation, returning stronger and more meaningful than before. Their renewed friendship was a testament to the power of fate, timing, and mutual respect. Each meeting, each conversation, and each shared experience strengthened the bond between them, creating a foundation for something even greater. By the end of this period, John and Emily were no longer just acquaintances catching up on old times. They were friends who had rediscovered each other, who had become sources of inspiration, support, and motivation. They had shared laughter, tears, hopes, and dreams, building a relationship that was rich, fulfilling, and full of potential. Both of them realized that life had given them a rare gift, the chance to reconnect with someone who truly understood them and who could walk alongside them as they faced the challenges and joys ahead. In these moments, John and Emily felt a sense of gratitude and amazement. They had not only rekindled an old friendship, but had also found in each other a renewed sense of purpose and encouragement. The experiences of the past weeks had transformed their perspective on life, reminding them of the value of connection, the importance of support, and the joy of rediscovering someone who had once been an integral part of their world. As their friendship continued to grow stronger, John and Emily started sharing more personal thoughts and dreams than ever before. The connection between them had deepened, moving beyond nostalgia and laughter into something more meaningful. They were no longer just two old classmates catching up. They had become confidants who genuinely cared about each other's happiness and success. Their meetings were no longer occasional. They were moments they both looked forward to, a time to share experiences, thoughts, and ambitions that mattered deeply. One evening, they decided to meet at a quiet little bistro downtown. The warm lighting and soft music made the atmosphere perfect for a serious conversation. Emily had been a little hesitant all week, and John noticed it immediately. She seemed thoughtful, almost preoccupied, and kept stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. He could tell she had something important on her mind, something that she needed to discuss. Finally, after a few minutes of comfortable silence, Emily spoke. "John, I've been thinking a lot lately. About my future. About my art." Her voice was steady, but there was a hint of uncertainty that made John lean forward. He had seen this side of her before, confident yet cautious when faced with a big decision. "I've been working here for years, but I feel like I'm stuck. I want to take my art seriously, maybe even open my own studio someday, but it feels risky. I'm scared it won't work out, and I don't know if I have the courage to leave the safety of my current job." John listened carefully, nodding in understanding. He could feel the weight of her words, the fear of stepping into the unknown. But he also saw the passion behind them, the drive and talent that he had admired for weeks. He realized this was a turning point not just for Emily, but for their friendship as well. This was a moment where he could offer support that might truly make a difference. "Emily," John said gently, "I know it's scary. Taking risks always is. But I also know how talented you are, how much you love what you do. You can't let fear stop you from pursuing something that's clearly your passion. I believe in you, and I know you can do it if you really commit." Emily looked at him, and for the first time in their conversation, a small smile broke across her face. She had been carrying this worry alone for months, and now, with John's encouragement, it felt lighter. It wasn't just his words. It was the faith he had in her that mattered. Someone she trusted. Someone who knew her history and her strengths, believed that she could succeed. That validation was more powerful than she could have imagined. They spent the next few hours discussing the practical aspects of taking such a step. Emily shared her concerns about finances, the challenges of finding the right space for a studio, and balancing her responsibilities. John offered ideas and suggestions, drawing on his experiences with projects and planning during his travels. He encouraged her to start small, perhaps hosting art shows at local cafes or selling some of her work online, gradually building her confidence and reputation before making any big leap. As they talked, John noticed the change in Emily's demeanor. Her shoulders, which had seemed tense and burdened when they arrived, now relaxed. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she imagined the possibilities. She spoke with renewed energy, brainstorming ideas and imagining the kind of studio she wanted, the type of artwork she would create, and the people she hoped to reach. John could see the transformation happening in real time, a woman moving from doubt and hesitation to clarity and determination. It wasn't just about the practical advice or encouragement. The deeper connection between them made the moment special. John's presence provided reassurance, and Emily's trust allowed her to speak honestly without fear of judgment. Their conversation flowed naturally, shifting from dreams and fears to lighter topics, like funny memories from school, shared jokes, and little life observations. This mix of seriousness and humor created an atmosphere where Emily could feel both supported and relaxed. Over the following days, Emily began taking small steps toward her goal. She started dedicating a few hours each week to painting, creating pieces she had long imagined but never attempted. She visited local galleries, spoke to other artists, and researched what it would take to open her own studio. John continued to check in, offering advice, encouragement, and even helping her make connections in the art community. Their partnership, though not romantic, had a profound impact on both of them. Emily found motivation and courage she hadn't realized she still possessed, while John felt a deep sense of fulfillment in helping someone he cared about follow her dreams. One evening, Emily called John excitedly. "I've made a decision," she said. Her voice was steady, confident, and full of excitement. "I'm going to take the leap. I'm going to open my studio. It's going to be hard, and I know there will be challenges, but I can't ignore this any longer. I have to try." John felt a surge of pride and happiness. "I'm so proud of you, Emily," he said. "I knew you could do it, and I'll be here to support you every step of the way." In the weeks that followed, Emily's life transformed. She began setting up her studio, organizing her artwork, and promoting her projects. She faced challenges, of course, unexpected expenses, long hours, moments of doubt. But with John's support and her own determination, she navigated them successfully. Their friendship had evolved into a partnership of mutual inspiration. John's belief in her abilities helped her grow, while Emily's courage and passion reminded John of the importance of following one's dreams and finding joy in life's pursuits. Their interactions were no longer limited to casual coffee meetings or park walks. They became collaborators in each other's personal growth. John encouraged Emily to participate in community exhibitions and art fairs, introducing her to people who could help her career. Emily, in turn, encouraged John to pursue projects he had been postponing, reminding him of the value of living fully and embracing opportunities rather than letting them pass by. Through this process, both of them discovered something remarkable. Sometimes the right support at the right time can change everything. Emily's decision to take the leap wasn't just a career move. It was a transformation of confidence, self-belief, and courage. And for John, witnessing this transformation reinforced the power of friendship, encouragement, and shared trust. They realized that their bond had grown far beyond the nostalgia of the past. It had become a driving force for positive change in both of their lives. By the end of this chapter of their story, Emily had not only committed to pursuing her art fully, but she had also embraced the unknown with excitement rather than fear. John had helped her recognize her own potential and reminded her that taking risks was a natural part of achieving one's dreams. Together, they celebrated small victories, laughed at setbacks, and encouraged each other to keep moving forward. Their friendship had become a powerful catalyst for growth, showing that true connections can inspire courage, change, and success. It was an amazing turning point, a moment when past friendship, present support, and future possibilities converged. John and Emily understood that life sometimes gives second chances, not only to reconnect with people but also to discover the best versions of themselves. What started as a simple reunion at a cafe had now transformed into a journey of growth, courage, and shared inspiration, proving that even a chance encounter can lead to extraordinary outcomes. Months had passed since Emily had made the bold decision to pursue her art fully. The small, cozy studio she had always dreamed of was finally beginning to take shape. John had been there every step of the way, offering advice, helping her set up displays, and cheering her on during the inevitable moments of doubt. The journey had not been easy. There had been challenges with permits, unexpected expenses, and long nights spent painting and organizing, but Emily faced each obstacle with determination and courage. Each hurdle she overcame only made her more confident and fueled her passion further. John watched with admiration as Emily transformed her dream into reality. She had always been talented, but now her work was being recognized in ways she had never imagined. Local cafes and small galleries began to feature her art, and people started noticing her unique style. She received compliments from strangers and encouragement from fellow artists. But the greatest support came from the unwavering friendship and belief John had shown her. Their partnership, though never romantic, was extraordinary, a bond built on trust, encouragement, and shared history. One crisp morning, Emily invited John to visit the studio early, before any customers arrived. The sun filtered through the large windows, casting soft light on the canvases lined up along the walls. The smell of fresh paint and wood filled the air, and Emily moved about with purpose and excitement. She showed John her latest pieces, a collection inspired by life's small but meaningful moments, capturing emotions that resonated with anyone who saw them. John marveled at her creativity and skill. Realizing how far she had come since the days of working long hours at the cafe while painting in secret, "I can't believe this is real," John said, his voice full of awe. "Look at what you've created, Emily. You've built something incredible with your own hands and heart." Emily smiled, a mixture of pride and humility shining on her face. "I couldn't have done it without your support. John, you reminded me that taking a risk was worth it and that I had to believe in myself. Every time I doubted myself, I remembered our conversations, your encouragement, and it pushed me forward." John shook his head with a grin. "No, you did all the work. I only reminded you of what was already inside you. Your talent and determination made this happen." They spent the morning arranging artwork, planning small exhibitions, and discussing future projects. Emily's energy was contagious, and John felt inspired just being in the space with her. He noticed how happy she looked, not just accomplished, but genuinely fulfilled. Her eyes sparkled with a sense of purpose that made everything around her feel brighter. It was as if the studio itself was alive, reflecting her passion and vision. Soon, word of Emily's art studio spread through the community. People visited not just to admire her work, but to learn about the story behind it. The woman who had once been a waitress, who had faced fear and uncertainty, and yet had pursued her dream with courage and dedication. John watched with pride as Emily spoke to visitors, explaining her process and inspiration, answering questions with warmth and confidence. He realized that this wasn't just a professional achievement for her. It was a personal transformation. She had reclaimed her confidence, embraced her talent, and shown that courage combined with hard work can create something extraordinary. One afternoon, during a small exhibition at her studio, Emily took a moment to step back and look around. The room was filled with visitors admiring her paintings, some taking photos, others asking questions about her techniques. She felt a deep sense of gratitude, not just for the success she was experiencing, but for the people who had supported her along the way. Her eyes found John across the room, quietly observing with a proud smile. She felt a rush of appreciation for him, knowing that his encouragement had played a significant role in her journey. "Can you believe this?" she whispered to him later as the exhibition ended. "Just a few months ago, I was scared to even think about opening a studio, and now, look at this. It feels unreal." John nodded, smiling. "I can believe it. I knew you had it in you all along. You just needed a little push to start. But seeing it now, it's amazing. You've inspired me just by following your dream." The impact of Emily's transformation went beyond the studio walls. Local schools invited her to hold workshops for students interested in art. Community centers asked her to collaborate on projects. Her work began to inspire others to take risks, follow their passions, and believe in themselves. John often reflected on how remarkable it was that a chance encounter at a cafe had led to this moment. A simple reunion had grown into a journey that changed lives. Not just for Emily, but also for him, for John. Watching Emily flourish reinforced an important truth. Connections and friendships can shape lives in unexpected ways. Their bond, forged years ago in the innocence of school life, had returned with new strength and meaning. It wasn't just nostalgia that had brought them together. It was the shared support, encouragement, and belief in each other's potential that had made all the difference. John realized that being part of Emily's journey had made his own life richer, giving him purpose and a sense of fulfillment he hadn't experienced in years. As the months went by, John and Emily continued to meet regularly, discussing future exhibitions, creative projects, and personal growth. They celebrated successes and navigated challenges together. Their friendship had evolved into a partnership of mutual inspiration. Emily had become more confident, independent, and recognized for her talent, while John had gained renewed perspective on life, courage, and the importance of believing in others. Together, they demonstrated how meaningful connections can lead to extraordinary outcomes. One sunny afternoon, John accompanied Emily to a local art festival, where her paintings were being showcased for the first time outside her studio. Crowds gathered around her work, impressed by her creativity, emotion, and storytelling through art. Emily walked through the festival, greeting visitors and answering questions, her energy infectious. John watched, feeling a swell of pride and admiration. She had taken a dream that seemed distant and uncertain and turned it into reality, inspiring everyone who saw her art. Later, as they walked back home, Emily paused and turned to John. "You know," she said, "if we hadn't run into each other that day at the cafe, I don't think I would have had the courage to do any of this. You helped me see what I was capable of." John shook his head with a gentle smile. "You helped yourself, Emily. I just reminded you. You had the courage all along. You just needed someone to believe in you." She laughed softly. "Well, I'm glad it was you. I can't imagine anyone else being there for me the way you were," John realized. At that moment, how rare and powerful such connections were. Life had a way of bringing the right people together at the right time. Sometimes, a chance encounter could change everything, not just in small ways, but in ways that completely reshaped the course of life. Emily's journey was proof of that. By the end of the year, Emily's studio had become a thriving hub for local art enthusiasts, students, and community members. Her work continued to gain recognition, and she remained humble, grateful, and dedicated to her passion. John continued to be a part of her life, sharing in her successes, offering support, and enjoying the remarkable story that life had written for them both. In the quiet moments, when Emily reflected on the journey she had taken, she often thought about that rainy day at the cafe, the moment she and John had crossed paths again after so many years. It had seemed like a simple encounter, yet it had sparked a chain of events that transformed her life completely. And for John, seeing Emily thrive, confident and fulfilled, reminded him of the extraordinary power of human connection, trust, and encouragement. Their story had started with a simple recognition, a spark of nostalgia, and had grown into something far greater than either of them could have imagined. It was a story of friendship, courage, growth, and the incredible ways life can surprise us when we least expect it. And in the end, both John and Emily understood something profound. Sometimes, smallest encounters lead to the most amazing outcomes, and a single moment of recognition can change lives forever.